So I'm gonna do a little series on, I guess, Caleb Lore, maybe? Maybe that's what we'll call it. I'm not really sure. Caleb Lore, Clabe Lore, you know, something like that. But pretty much what it's gonna do is like focus on, you guys get to know me a little bit. You know, you get to know my past and everything like that, and probably talk about like different games I've played, how I got into different type of shit, like maybe lifting, or yeah, just games, or just general activities. If you guys have questions, hit me up on my Twitch chat, or DM me on Twitter or some shit. I don't know. I don't really check my YouTube comments that often, so if you want to leave it there, go ahead, but I can't promise you that it'll all actually come to, respond to you on that. But I guess we're going to talk about, like, video games, like, how I got into them. I mean, first off, apparently this is what my mom and dad said. Whenever I was, like, 2 years old in the fucking crib, I was playing Mario Land, Super Mario Land, like the one for the Game Boy. On the Game Boy brick, the fucking Game Boys that are like this thick and shit, you know what I mean? So I was playing that, and I was just really good at it, and I beat the game, and I don't remember anything from whenever I was young. I don't really think anybody does. But that's the first game that I ever played, Super Mario Land. And I remember I played that quite a bit, even after like that. We had a Nintendo, but I guess I never really played it. That's the thing, is that I didn't really grow up on the Nintendo. I grew up on the Super Nintendo, but I didn't actually really grow up on the Nintendo. So that is kind of odd, like, compared to a lot of people my age and shit, because they never really grew up with I never really grew up with a Nintendo. I just had a Super Nintendo, so I don't. Like, classic Mega Mans, for example, like Mega Man 1 through 6. Dude, I didn't even play those until 2008, 2009. Didn't really even play them much, like, at all. Until that point, because, like, when the Mega Man Anniversary Collection came out, when it's got a 1 through 8 on it and, like, some other stuff, that's when I actually first really started to actually play the classic Mega Mans, because I always grew up with, like, Mega Man X1 through 3, and then X4, 5, 6. I mean, we don't talk about those shit, and so forth. But yeah, so I never really grew up with a Nintendo. We always grew up with the Super Nintendo. Mega Man X being like the first game that I remember really getting into, and kicking the shit out of it too, quite frankly, because I was really good. And then I remember my dad, Murphy Hart, he played with us quite a bit when we were younger, me and my brother Ryan, and I was able to just kick the shit out of the game so easily. And remember, we had SimCity, obviously A Link to the Past, Super Metroid. It's a pretty fucking big one. I've been known to be good at games with, the main character has a gun on their arm. So I was pretty good at SM too. Super Metroid, SM, that's what us speedrunners, the cringe boys, that's what we call Super Metroid, we call it SM. So there's that. Another notable game that I remember playing was like DKC3. Never really actually played DKC 1 or 2. Played a little bit of 1, but never really a lot. Like, I never beat it. I beat DKC 3 like a shit ton. And then obviously Mega Man X2, Mega Man X3, Contra. Yeah, Contra 3. Oh man. Super Mario World, all the mainstream cookie cutter SNES games, that's what I got into mainly. I'm trying to think. I don't want to sit here for fucking 3 minutes thinking about other Super Nintendo games that I did play that are a little unorthodox, that are I mean, you could say Earthbound, but it's not really an unorthodox game. It's kind of like well known. Like SMRPG is also not unorthodox. That's a very popular game too. FF6, shit like that. You know, played it a lot. But FF4, that was like a big game for me. Played a lot of FF4. My brother, I remember, I was playing it. He was just kind of like, "You don't really get what's going on." And I'm like, "No, not really. No." I didn't really understand the story. Like, I just played the game, man. I knew what to do, but I didn't understand the story. So that was kind of funny. Ryan was like, "Hey, what the fuck you doing? You're playing an RPG. You don't know what that is." You know, whatever. He didn't know what he was talking about. Fuck it. Ryan, I know you're gonna be watching this video, so so that's cool. And then you know, moved on to Nintendo 64. Remember when Ocarina of Time came out, man? Jesus fuck, you know. That was time to be alive, folks. That was time to be alive. Mario 64, GoldenEye. You don't get a better N64 era than that. Like, those three games alone, like, make up the core of it in N64. And then you have games like Shadows of the Empire and shit. We actually got quite a few of them over here. Paper Mario. Let's see what else we got. Wave Race. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Quake. Apparently this is fake news. Quake 2 actually wasn't on the N64, but it was. I don't know. You're gonna have to look that up because my Twitch chat called bullshit on me one time because I was like, yeah, Quake 2 for the N64, and they're like, what the fuck? That game's not on the N64. Apparently it was only for like PS1 or something. I don't know. Some weird shit like that where the game was like fake news. Trump apparently slapped a sticker on it. So it doesn't actually exist, but I don't know. Maybe they were just smoking crack. Other N64, I mean, we played a good portion of N64 games, but not like a ton of N64. PS1 was where I really started to hit hard, because like my brother, I always just loved to watch my brother play games, you know, and like that's kind of how it is, you know. Like even my girlfriend, Kristen, she always talks about like her brother playing games, and she just loved to watch him and everything like that, you know. So it was kind of like that thing, that connection. And I remember like the two games that I really, well, one game mainly, Final Fantasy Tactics, like to this fucking day, man. FFT, God game, you know. Nothing compares as far as that goes. It was like every time he would play Tactics, man, I'd get hype, man. I was just like, let's go. Love to watch it, love the game, and every time he'd play FF7, I'd be like, dude, it's like a Twitch viewer who follows a specific streamer, and then like for a game, like in my case, Ryan was the Twitch streamer, and I followed him for FFT, and he's playing FF7, and I like that. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to watch that, but I did anyway. I mean, FF7 is kind of a good game, you know. Maybe a little overrated, maybe. But there's that. Legend of Legaia. There is Legend of Dragoon. Wild Arms. You're gonna hear me name off a ton of PS1 RPGs, because like that was like my main shit. I mean, obviously X4 through 6. That was another thing too. Played a lot of X4. We didn't really go past 4. 5 and 6, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a good idea to do it. Now I speedrun them, so that's great. But yeah, I played a lot of X4. So there's games like Siphon Filter, Vagrant Story, Saga Frontier, you know, 7 through 9, Final Fantasy. There is, you know, just all sorts of cookie cutter RPGs, like I said, that are just amazing. Breath of Fire 3, that's another one. A lot on that list. You know, I grew up with a lot of really popular games. You know, I didn't really play a whole lot of unknown shit. You'd be talking to some dude about like a specific game. It's like, what the fuck you doing, man? Like, what is that even? What game are you even talking about? Like, most of the games that I talk about, people can relate to, because like that's what I grew up with too. And you know, it's just kind of you know, they were the popular games for a reason, because they were good. And, you know, this video is getting a bit long, but I'll continue this into like 2 or 3 parts or something like that, and then I'll release like part 2 of, you know, I'll get into like newer gen systems like Xbox and PS3 and PS4 and shit, and tell you like my favorites things. So I feel like this is a good video to make. I feel like every YouTuber, I'm not really a YouTuber, I'm a Twitch guy, I will be a YouTuber. I feel like every YouTuber should make a video like this to kind of like let your viewers know like how you really are, like your past and stuff like that, you know. You might say it a lot, but it's like to have a video dedicated to it where you can kind of just, you don't have to sift through shit and be like, oh yeah, he said this on this one video at this, whatever. You got a video for it, fuck it, you know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and the outro will say that same thing again, but... Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you like the content, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and my Twitch, and more importantly, don't forget to sub to the YouTube channel. Thank you.